Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Al Meg with the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I'm with my partner, the one and only Lucas Fashina. What's up, brother? How are you today?
Loving it, loving it. You know, we're going to be talking about my favorite two things, comics and money, baby.
Oh, yeah, man, because we have a special guest today, man. He runs the Pop Anime show. He's also doing a comic book 101 investing class, which is really cool. This is why we got to have him on. And I thought with Lucas on, this is going to be absolute perfect marriage with this individual here. I'm talking about none other than the one and only Mr. Andrew Davis. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday night, and we're also talking about my two favorite things, money in comics and making money in comics, too.
Yeah, let's make that paper, baby, out that comic book paper for real. You know, there's definitely a lot of great opportunity out there. I am, like you guys, I've always been one of these first step enthusiasts from no matter what type of run it is, because you just never know that gem you could pick up. I used to go to the New York cons back when it was in the Pennsylvania Hotel. We were buying runs of OG bronze book at 50 cents an issue. I mean, and in conditions, that varied from very fine to, near mint almost. For 50 cents, guys, could you imagine this? The things that I ran into and wound up selling. And, before we even start, I just want to tell people this. Don't sleep in the Captain America Volume 1 Mark Gruenwald run. There's so many gems in there people are sleeping on, and I'm glad that people are starting to slowly maybe notice lately. But there's a lot more gems there. Please don't sleep on that run. So, Lucas, let me leave, since you're my fellow Crusader joining me today, I'm going to leave the floor to you with the first question for our guest, Andrew Davis.
Okay. So, this is 2020. Right, it's been a hard hit year for everybody, from the mom and pop shops to the speculators, because just some of the money isn't out there. What would you suggest a investor that is just starting out do?
Ooh, this is tough, and it's anti-comic book to some degree. One of the things that I would suggest you do, first and foremost, and this is the first thing I talk about always, and I speak about it with other people who ask me all the time. I say, look, you got to take care of your household first. You have to make sure that all your bills are taken care of before you can even enter this space. And it's the same thing that applies to traditional investing too. Investing is a privilege. It is not a right. And so you have to make sure that your mortgage is paid, your rent is paid, your food. If you have money, you got to set aside for your kids to make sure if an emergency comes up, you got to make sure you can put gas in your car. You have to do all of that before you even consider investing into comics. But let's say you're at that stage where you now have an extra $1,000. The second thing is that depending on where you are, if you're brand new to this, you have to sit down and you have to learn and you have to actually understand how this business works. Yeah. And so, because if you take $1,000 and you just throw it out whatever you want, you're going to win naturally some, and you're going to lose some too. And obviously that's because you're just shooting blindly, and you'll hit something in the dark, but that's kind of the first thing. So the first step isn't to invest. It's to actually learn and understand. And I'm going to just drop a bunch of terms here. You have to know what a variant is in a comic book. You have to know what a barcode is. You have to know the difference and how to read a comic barcode, especially in the last 10 years, because if you don't know what those numbers mean, then you're going to pick up a second print run and not the first print run, and somebody might, take advantage of you. And so you have to understand that. You have to understand what an incentive variant is, what a store variant is, what a con variant is, and then so on and so forth. And you need to know some comic history at the same time. And there's a variety of other stuff, but you actually have to know what you're doing, and you have to learn. And so watch a bunch of YouTube stuff, check stuff out, look at things, and check out and listen to people before you go out and spend money and buy books. And then once you learn and you understand things, buy very slowly, because even if you're not investing this year, or it takes you 2 years to get your $1,000 in, if you take $1,000 and you stretch it over 24 months and you divide that up, and I'm not going to do the math in my head, I'm too lazy.
I don't worry, I got you on that one, man. I got you.
on my Friday night, I'm a little lazy, but obviously you're going to go slow and you're going to learn a lot of stuff. And then there's always opportunity, there's always business, and people say, oh, the time is now. There's always time to make money in comics.
exactly. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to unpack for the listeners right now. So first, I want to address. He was talking about the UPC codes on there. I'm sorry that you guys can't see it with the light, but those numbers. So for instance, that last number right there, that little one, that means that is the first print, right? So there'll be like a second, third, or fourth print. But you always want to make sure that whatever you're getting is the first print, especially for first appearances or whatever. And depending on the rarity, you might want the second, third, fourth, but that's the number that you're looking for. That other number, that's the volume, and then some of those other numbers might be the year. So you just got to watch out for that and to make sure that you're getting what you're looking for.
Isn't it also on the inside?
Sometimes it is on the inside.
When
yes.
it just says first printing.
And also sometimes with Star Wars Marvel, they actually listed first print, second print on the cover as well. And so sometimes books will do that too as a courtesy to their readers.
Right, and then the other thing to unpack is you were throwing out that $1,000 number and how much to put aside. So the way I would address it for a beginner is I always throw out the $1,500 a year number, right? I mean, I understand you might want to read some other stuff, and you might want something pretty for the walls and that other stuff, but don't, especially if say you have like a minimum wage job, right? The minimum that you should be investing or putting aside, right, is say like $120 per month, right? You put $120 a month aside. You do that for a long enough time, you're going to be in a pretty good position as you retire. What does that break down per week? That breaks down to about $30 per week. What does that break down in terms of comic books? That's about 6 to 7 books a week that you could buy. When it comes, and that's flipping. That's not the long-term big books. That's the flipping, right? So, there's plenty of information out there of guys that say, hey, pay attention in this book. You might want to buy it, and it'll be about $3.99 or $4.99. Pick those books up, and then you might be able to flip those on some of those e-book books. So once again, and even if there isn't a book out there that's good enough to flip that week, you just take that $30 and you just put it in the bank, and you hold on to a good enough time that there are some good books out there. So I think that's a very good point that you brought out there, Andrew.
That's bro. It is on college here. So Andrew, we're talking about education, right? So what are some good avenues for people to begin educating themselves?
Honestly, I love using Wikipedia. Just in general, whenever I'm looking up a character, I usually start on Wikipedia just to get a sense of that character and also to get a sense of that story and what's happening. So that's where I usually start, because it's the quickest way for me, and it doesn't give me all the information, but it gives me a good enough broad general sense. So there are certain books I know nothing about, and so I know nothing about Batman Rebirth, for instance. What did I do? I'm interested in looking at a Batman Rebirth book and seeing some cool stuff, and it was like $5. And so obviously I picked it up. I took the fly on it, but then I started looking at it and saying, okay, what's going on with this? And then Wikipedia gave me a very general sense. And then what you start doing, and what I start doing, is I just start Googling stuff. I start Googling reviews, and just type in on Google the issue number. So if it's Batman Beyond 36, just type it in on Google, and you will find like 30 to 40 reviews on it easily, if not more. And then you'll get a sense of it and read 1 or 2 of those. And that's how I get a sense of what's in the book, what's happening. And then at the same time, as you stated, there are all these people on YouTube reviewing stuff. And then whenever they throw something out and you don't know what's going on in that book, you just type it in. And that's something. And then also, I go and I follow a bunch of people on Twitter, and I see what they're doing, and I see where they're tweeting about. So Robert Kirkman created The Walking Dead. Should probably follow the guy because he's running Image's entire financial division, and that's a good person to follow. Look up who's on the board of DC. Look up who's on the board of all these comics.
Mm-hmm.
Go open up a comic book and actually look at who's the editor of that company. So for instance, if you want to spend $30, go into a comic shop, buy something from Boom, DC, Marvel, IDW, Dark Horse, and Dynamite. 6 books. Maybe throw in a 7th one, or if you
Throw
don't,
an indie in there since you mentioned the big two in premiere. Throw some indie love.
yeah. You can pick up an indie book
yeah.
too, but open it up and look actually who is in their cabinet, and then also look at the writer, look at who's the editor, and then start just following those people on social media also, because that'll give you an inclination of what's out there. And then also just type in stuff on Instagram relating to them or relating to Spider-Man and or Marvel, and just look at that stuff. And that's how I would start. And then you'll just go down the rabbit hole.
Right.
Very efficiently.
Exactly. I mean, you brought up, Boom Studios. Boom Studios is definitely one to watch because, they have a first look deal with Netflix, right? So anytime something comes up when it comes to TV deals or movie deals, as soon as it's announced, man, freaking that book is going to be hot. So there are several books that Boom Studios has been coming up with. I'm not sure about the Power Ranger stuff.
Is this what we're talking about here with this Keanu Reeves book coming out there? We're going to see this.
Well, yes, exactly. That's a great point, Al. Anything that's attached to an actor or a director. So, for instance, that Berserker book that you're talking about, that's definitely one you want to look at. It's going to be a little difficult because there's going to be like 1 to 100s, 1 to 500s. There's all going to be all types of variants out there. And then you were talking about any Robert Kirkman book. That's a freaking great one to look at. People are sleeping on the J.J. Abrams comic book, the Spider-Man book. People are sleeping on
the one with the sun. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna get.
Yeah, they are sleeping. There's the one with the son, and then he's got a cat girl girlfriend running around with him. So people are sleeping on that freaking book. There's a lot of stuff that people are sleeping on right now.
I'll add something into that too with Boom. So for those who don't know, Boom actually had a relationship with WWE. And so there's an entire niche market with Boom and WWE fans, and they are willing to spend good money on WWE comics.
Yes,
and those fans aren't necessarily comic book fans. And I know because I'm sort of one of them, and I've also flipped some books for serious money where I bought a book for $200 and you flip it for $400.
Oh, nice job.
And then it's a big jump, and I made a decent profit on it. And while it was graded and it was signed and everything, that's the thing, is that a lot of these companies also, like IDW, is based and built on licensing. And that's something also you have to look at, is saying, okay, IDW has the license to do Transformer comics. Transformers is a massive Hasbro product, toys, movies, everything in between, video games.
And IDW got them teaming up with everybody and their mother right now, from My Little Ponies to,
Exactly.
That's another thing. Right. That's another thing. Yeah. So that's something to pay attention also.
Yeah, I mean,
go to Target, and I kid you not, and look at the toys on the shelves, and then say to yourself, okay, what toys are being done by Hasbro? What toys are being done by Mattel? Is Mattel doing something in the comic field? Is Hasbro doing something in the comic field? And actually pay attention to a lot of these big companies that are outside the comic world just the same, because they have massive influence. And you look at IDW has G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Yes,
those are two massive Hasbro.
So you need to slow down, bro. You need to slow down for the people. So slow down. So because you're unpacking a lot of stuff for people, but you need to slow down because. So let's go back to you brought up
people excited.
Yeah. So well, you got to slow down because we need to bring people up to what's going on.
I'm so terrible. I'm such a horrible person.
No. So all right. So you started with Transformers. You talked about My Little Ponies. What you got to remember is that was stuff from 30 years ago, right? So that was stuff from when we were kids, right? So Power Rangers. They're also a big book that's making people a lot of money when you play it right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's big, and they're coming out with some new big stuff. That last Ronin book. Yeah. If you haven't already started ordering that stuff, you're chingaste away. I mean, you're messing up, and you need to get
that presentation of Jenica now and doing that reversal of an origin type stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. There's the Jenica, and then there's that
boy Ian did that. Shout out to Ian, boy.
And Kevin Eastman's back with them too.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Kevin's back, and for those who don't know, Kevin is the co-founder and co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I don't want to go through the entire history, but it's good that he's back, and that's a big thing.
If you check out his Facebook or whatever, he's always doing giveaways on the OG toys that he owns, signed and all, which is pretty dope.
So when people go to the Targets and the Walmarts and all that stuff, when they go to the stores right now, the big stuff that they're going to look at is merchandising from the games, right? So that'll bring us back to comics, which is talking about Miles Morales, right? Because Miles Morales has a big game that's coming out with the PlayStation 5. Unfortunately, people are not going to play it because PlayStation 5 keeps selling out every time we get a freaking chance.
But how does that affect the value of the book right now?
Well, it hurts my heart because I sold two Miles Moraleses like a year ago for like $350, one for $500
each.
Each. That is 9.8 right now. That's going for $3,500.
Ooh.
Let me ask a question.
What?
Let me ask a question. How much did you pay for it? And we know what you sold it for. How much did you pay for it?
Yeah.
I paid for them raw $20.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
I have you beat. Mm-hmm. I have you beat.
Yeah, I came in late.
I got a story. I got a story. I got my 2 first print editions for free.
No, how?
Midtown Comics was giving them away on Free Comic Book Day 5 years ago.
Oh, say what? Oh, you from New York, bro?
I'm a New Yorker.
Oh man, I grew up in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, man. Midtown, right on Lexington. That was my spot.
So I grew up in Westchester, and I travel into New York City all the time, and I remember the days so well.
There we go, man. I'm so happy you opened up that dollar pizza shop around the corner. You could read your comics and get a dollar slice on a budget, boy. That's awesome stuff.
But getting back to Miles here.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a major property. It's one of those generational joints, right? Where my kids know it. Us older guys, we kind of know it, right? We understand that he's an offshoot of Spider-Man, but for my kids, he is Spider-Man. Punto. That's it, right? And he's going to be the Spider-Man for them for the next 20, 30 years until they get old enough. I still argue
he needs his own name. I feel, as a Latino, because he's half PR, I do feel the type of way that he needs his own identity.
Well,
I hate that they call him Spider-Man.
And that's interesting,
I like
because
what Disney did, Lucas. They called him Kid Arachnid in the cartoon series when he came on. I thought that was so, okay, cool. He has his own name initially. Yeah. But to call him Spider-Man, and you have another Spider-Man, I think that's confusing.
We got to remember, like cool. in his universe, he is Spider-Man. Until
now he's here.
Yeah, it's weird.
They still call him Spidey though. I don't want him to be the Black Spidey. I want him to be Kid Arachnid or something.
So it does get a little weird because in the middle of his current series, it shows that he wanted to stop being Spider-Man and he wanted to be his own thing. He wanted to have his own little suit. He wanted to have his own little name. And then all of a sudden they said, "No, we'll just keep him with Spider-Man and that's it." And then that's you had Edge of Spider-Verse and then everything else. So that's him right now. Then the next one up is going to be Kamala Khan. She's got all types of stuff going on.
I missed that one like an asshole. I missed that.
If you missed out on it, it's still mid-level. It's pricey, but it's not too bad.
No,
it's
listen,
not my
if I was to be honest, if I was at my shop back in Massachusetts with my boy Jay Pirella from Rubber Chicken Comics, he would give me a sweet deal on something like that. But where I'm at now, deals don't exist.
So the thing about her right now is that she is heavily in main focus in the new Avengers game, which just came out on PlayStation 4 and PC and everything. So there's all types of stuff, and what's hidden inside the game is her new suit. And in her new suit, there's other evil version of her in the suit called Stormbreaker. They're introducing a new character called Amulet, which is a guy character. And right now, speculators are going crazy for them, and they're just freaking scooping those up. So those are very mid-level, $20 to $30 comics that people can scoop up right now. That'll be really hot.
Less, man. People need to check the dollar boxes for real, because a lot of shops, do miss out on not understanding this.
Right.
Initially.
Right. So that's that. That's the future generation when it comes to that stuff. So here comes the question for Andrew, because this is your specialty, right? because you got it in your name, right? The other stuff, and I'm not even going to talk about the Fortnite stuff yet, because that's even Marvel is trying to introduce that stuff, right? The other stuff that I see as being hot, and this is for the teenagers that are in between the ages of 17 to 24, right? That age group. Anime, right? That's the hot stuff right now.
My daughter loves that stuff.
Okay. So go ahead and start talking about that stuff. I'm going to freaking give you the floor right now to just go ahead and talk about stuff. And any collectibles, any type of graphic novels, comic books, and that people might want to watch out for. Go ahead, man.
So obviously Attack on Titan is the big one.
Yeah.
That people love. Season 4 is about to start and launch and happen, and it's going to be fantastic. And that's the end to it. So just to bring in something that you might not know, I technically invented the concept of comparing The Walking Dead to Fahrenheit 451 and Attack on Titan. I was the first person actually ever published, and I've been cited in some college papers and PhD papers because of that.
Congrats, bro. Check that out.
People like 27-year-olds are citing a 17-year-old. Go figure that one out, right? so no, maybe a 19-year-old. Like, give myself a little more credit. But so I invented that concept and might or might not be working on the book with it. So that's something. So obviously, if you like The Walking Dead on the comic side, Attack on Titan's for you. Big stuff. Big Pop Funkos. Attack on Titan Pop Funkos sell for a lot of money. The Cleaning Levy from Hot Topic. I just sold mine 2 months ago for $100. It's a $12.50 Pop Funko.
Wow!
Just throwing that out there. It's a big jump.
Did you leave it unopened in the box?
Oh yeah, unopened. Cried a little bit letting it go. Felt really bad, but money's money, and
yeah, man, that's 100 times the profit, right? No.
It's about 8 times. 8 times.
8 times the profit. 8 times the profit.
So let me take 30 seconds to interject in here. If you want to become an investor, you got to have a cold heart, right? Because there's so many guys that they try so hard to hunt down the thing, and then when they finally get it, they don't want to let it go.
Yes.
And then it just sits on their freaking desk or their freaking drawer or their freaking
catching
box.
Dust.
Catching dust.
Or I'm gonna say it this way, and it's a little bit cold, but it's also I've learned a very good lesson. I buy 2.
Now, are you one of those guys? 2 of each.
So or 4, depending on what it is.
Damn, bro.
So the other show I'm going to talk about is My Hero Academia. So I bought 4 of a character called Dobby from last year in New York Comic Con. I sold 3 of them, each for $100, and I'm keeping the 4th for myself.
You stood on that line last year?
I got them online.
Oh, online. Yeah, man, because I was there live. Let me tell you that the line was bullshit. The way they were doing everything was bullshit. I would never stand on line for fun. It was horrible. I would never want to do. My boy was so dying to get some pop figures, including that one, and he was not very happy.
So to put this in a very polite way, you do need to be tough. You need to be cold. You need to remove some emotional attachment.
Yes, you can.
Unless you do what I've done, which is I pick and choose which ones, and certain ones speak to you more than others. And we all have our comics that we're not selling. It's just the way this business works. I have a Saga 1. That book is not for sale. It's a very valuable book. It's signed by Fiona Staples and
I had that bad boy too.
And then it's signed. It's graded. It's beautiful, and I'm not selling it. That's in my no sell pile. But I have a bunch of other books that I'm planning to sell. So My Hero is big. And that Pop Funko stuff is massive, so check that out. Attack on Titan, obviously. Log Horizon is coming out in January, and that's pretty massive. And then, I'm not watching much of anime. I used to watch a lot more. And then there's always anime movies coming out and stuff like that, and I love it. But those are like my main 3 right now.
Right. And Ruby is the next one up.
Ruby, obviously, I love Ruby too.
I do want to ask though, honestly though, because see, I'm a comic book fan. Now, you guys are talking manga now. Mm-hmm. Does manga hold the same type of collectability value as traditional comics do? More, really?
More. People are crazier for that stuff. They want the clothes, They want the statues.
But
but
I'm talking about when you buy the actual first print run book.
You can't
things
get
retain value.
There's no such thing because.
What do you mean?
Because for instance, they'll come out and so for instance, the big difference, and this is why manga and anime is kicking comics butt right now, is because it'll come. Yeah, it's monthly, and first it'll come out on Webtoons or something like that, and then maybe it'll come out on Ultra Jump Shonen, right? So the Ultra Jump Shonen, which is only available in like China, Japan, Thailand, or whatever, never even mixed over here, right? And then people they pick it up, and trust me, there's first appearances of Ruby, there's first appearances of Titans that's sitting on some old guy's freaking newsstand over there, and he doesn't know what he's got. I'm willing to pay $300 for that first appearance of Attack of the Titans or Ruby.
So I'll even add more to this.
Really?
So
Damn.
One of the things that is manga also can be weekly, and also the stuff that does come over to America is 10 to 15% of what's completely out there. There are shows that are not in mangas that don't get licensed and don't get brought over and don't get dealt with. And obviously, I have another show on my SoundCloud. I got Conversations in Pop Culture, and I mean, I spoke to a bunch of people who were in Funimation during what is called the Wild West back 1999, 2000, 2003. That time period, those 4 years, was the Wild Wild West. And people loved Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that's crazy. I mean, there's a reason why Netflix redubbed the entire thing and did it, because it's big money. And those pops are big money, and they're going to be bigger than anything else. There's a reason why I bought that stuff. I understand, and also I'm biased because I got to interview 2 of the voice casts and not the crazy drinking one, which is ironic. We're doing something similar here, but not the one who went and then acted inappropriately at a charity event, which not good. Not a good look.
Don't worry, Lucas won't get naked here.
Spike Spencer.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first
Tiffany
podcast I had where somebody did that. But yeah, so I mean, so from the DC Marvel's perspective, DC brought over Ruby. They're trying to do it with that. They're trying to hook it in.
Do you know why they brought over Ruby?
Well, you know Do you
know the real reason why?
I don't know. So from my perspective, I know they saw so there was a report that came out maybe like a year and a half ago, where they were absolutely shown that they were getting their butts handed to them on every single, from when it comes to Books A Million or Barnes & Noble to Walmart, they were getting their butts handed to them by manga and anime. So next thing you know, they say, you know what, let's give it a chance. And you know what, the comic book crowd, they didn't really take to it, but guess what? When you put out those trade paperbacks, they were still doing pretty good, right? So that's from the perspective of what I saw. That might be a reason why that was going on.
Oh my God! Look at that.
So first appearance of first person Ruby in DC, right?
This is Ruby 4, and this is, I believe, Art Gem.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just happened to have this cover next to me. So I have the 6. I don't know when 7's coming out. 7's all messed up, but part of also why this is the cover B for those who are interested in 4. It's a cool cover, and obviously that's Blake and Ruby, and those covers are just beautifully done.
So another reason why that they might have been doing it is because they did see that Marvel 2 years ago actually did some covers, and they were called manga variants, and they did pretty good. They did pretty good, right? You know, the manga crowd didn't really buy them, but they did pretty good. There's like some Hawkeye covers. There's like a Gambit cover with Jubilee H and Bubblegum. They did pretty good, right? But it prompted Marvel to do something where they had it's not called the West Coast Avengers. I forget what they're called. Oh, the Agents of Atlantis or something like this, where you've got that new character.
Agents of Atlas, that one?
Yeah, Agents of Atlas, where you had like Arrow and Hulkling or whatever his name is.
Agents of Atlas.
Yeah, and you know, but the thing is, it got kind of cut with this whole COVID thing right now, so we don't know what's going on. Like, they brought back Swordmaster and Arrow.
They will not bring it back now. They cut so much stuff.
There is a third reason.
What do you got?
AT&T owns DC Comics. AT&T owns Crunchyroll. They own Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth produces Ruby, and so naturally, given that they're all part of the same company, there's no paying for licensing the product anymore, essentially. Or if they do pay a license, it still stays within the entire system. And that's something also. And part of what you say where it's different, Ruby is massively popular. People love Ruby. There's a lot of money put into Ruby. Ruby has grown from a show that had legitimately no budget to having a super sized budget. And it's amazing. And people pay good money just for Ruby and for Genlock, which is the other stuff. Michael B. Jordan, not Michael A. Jordan. That's his father. And his son's going to be Michael C. Jordan. I guarantee you. But that's a joke.
And his son is going to be Michael D. Jordan.
It's like T'Challa's father was T'Chaka or something like that.
So that's also part of it, where it's just a very easy product, and also they could bring in a bunch of artists to do some serious cool work on it, and it's also them venturing out into something. And DC has also ventured out and teased stuff with AEW, because that's also under the same branch, because AT&T essentially owns it now, and they own a bunch of TV networks, and there's all that stuff that's now in play. And so obviously a lot of products are coming into comic books. Yeah. But the real reason is there's money involved.
Right. And if any of y'all doubt that exactly what Andrew is saying is not correct, just look at when there's a Wonder Woman variant that's coming out pretty soon. I forget what the number of it is, but Rooster Teeth, he's actually drawing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how crazy it is. A manga artist just came out of nowhere and decided to draw a variant.
I see that as a trend with Endo the Big Two, getting a lot of Japanese artists to begin to do a lot of variants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it started with Sean Chen. This is all Sean Chen started it.
Yes.
Sean Chen is great. Sean Chen has done so much amazing work. And then you also start looking at DC is also pulling out of international now. Very much so. And there are certain people, and I'll speak to this, and it's not directly comic related, and so I have inside information, and I'm the first person to say it, but in my podcast, I interview a lot of interesting people like Ebas or Eric Basaluda, Sun Kumanaki, Keith Garvey. You know, I have an idea of what's coming out. They don't tell me exactly, but they say, hey, something's coming down the pike, just look out for it. I have relationships with Zenoscope. I know Dave Franchini. I just did Ralph Tedesco. I have inside knowledge of what they're going to produce, how many covers they're producing, why they're producing it, how they're producing it, the numbers they're producing. And so it's a perk as an interviewer, which gives me insight. And and I'm not going to pretend and they know it and other people know it too, but buddying up with people is massively helpful. And so obviously when we look at all this stuff and what's coming down the pike, I mean, clearly it's evident. I mean, look at David Nakayama with all those serial covers with Marvel.
Right. So what do you think about investing in certain covers just for the cover art?
Oh, absolutely. I'm almost exclusively betting on artists. That's my entire motto.
All right, so Andrew, so within your course, in teaching comic book investing, right? Is this something you teach how to gauge maybe which one would be the best fit, for investment?
So right now in my class, I'm teaching the basics. So I'm not going to go starting to teach any of that until we're beyond the basics. So I'm teaching the barcodes. I'm teaching what CGC is. I'm teaching how to do your research, or your research tool, because I'm not about to, because that's something that actually agitated me. And I'm not going to name YouTube channels, but it's great you tell somebody what book to buy, but or what's the top 10 books.
That's terrible. Yeah.
It's I got no problem with it, and I think those people are nice, and I think they're decent people. But I got pissed off.
I think they're trash.
I got pissed off because I'm saying, okay, how many people know how to read a barcode? I'm interested in somebody actually understanding the basics, and then and understanding what a publisher is versus what a writer is. And it sounds like it should be self-explanatory, but then I go to a con and I ask the question, and nobody knows that answer. What is a Mark Jeweler variant? I mean, I'll ask the two of you, do you know what that is? And not as an embarrassment, but to prove a point. I don't know. Did you both know what a Mark Jeweler variant is?
Never heard of it.
Not me.
So I have 75 minutes in my class just talking about all the different variants that are out there and the history behind it. Because if somebody's going through a bin and they see something, you don't know what it is. I don't want somebody to be surprised. And so at some point, I'm going to go through perspectives on artists. What is an eBass? What does an eBass go for on eBay? What to look for with an eBass? What to look for with certain things? Do you want to go DC eBass? Do you want to go Mojo eBass? Do you want to go Rothic eBass? Those types of stuff are fascinating. Do you want to go certain artists? What do you look for? How do you even find interesting artists? Where do you even
sounds
look?
like a college course, my God. So let me ask you, Andrew, because
mean,
it's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
What inspired you to, do this for the people, to educate them? What's the origin behind you wanting to help people understand this?
I got pissed off. That's legit it. You know what it is? I wanted to do it for a while, and then obviously I started one project, and then I just started doing this, and it's going slow, and it's not great. I just actually finished recording something earlier today, research part 1,
Okay.
and I was doing a comic book investing class actually at Kant, and I only got to do it once, and I always wanted to get back to it. And it's just a very intro class that goes through everything in 40 minutes, which is not a lot of time in reality. And then I said, I'm always going to get back to it. I'm always going to get back to it. And then I got busy. And then even with COVID, I got busy with another project that I love doing. And I love supporting indie and doing indie interviews and doing every once in a while getting a big interview on this because my podcast is backed up. And then I'm just sitting down and just saying, hey, I'm building this PowerPoint. I'm building one a week. It's not going fast, unfortunately. That's why my class is dirt cheap, because it's not fully built yet.
So when you say that it's dirt cheap, so what are we looking at right now based on, what does the curriculum look like for you right now, and what's the cost? I just want people to understand, like, this is something that is valuable, because listen, I'm a collector. I know my shit. Lucas is a collector. I know my shit. I know when I find value. I want to, I get on my phone real quick. Listen, this is, for example, remember, the show Happy? My boy was looking at the box one day, standing next to me, and he bypassed the whole run, being sold for $5. The whole, all first prints.
I'm watching Happy right now. I only saw the first season. I saw the first season. I'm watching the entire first season. I love Christopher Melanini.
Yeah, he's great.
I love him, and Pat Oswalt is just a funny motherfucker.
If
I could say that, I think I could say that, right?
There's a dope, man. No worries, man.
And so I really am enjoying it. I didn't see the second season, so I don't want to go too far and ruin that for me, because I'm enjoying it.
No, but I bought the comics, but my boy just skipped the run. Yeah. When I noticed that he skipped the run, I said, "Excuse me, real quick." He goes, "What happened?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "Let me go back real quick." Boom. I just took it. I'm like, "Yo, this is on Sci-Fi. You nuts? Why would you miss an opportunity like this?" And I just bought it for $5 in front of him. There was even a time, check this out. I had found a shop in Rhode Island. I'm going to blow you guys' mind. Because I know you said you got your free Miles Morales. I'm going to kill you right now. I bought every single Valiant Comics first appearance for $0.25 a pop. The first Exo, the first Bloodshot, the first Shadow Man, everything from Valiant for $0.25. Then I also found the first Apple Blue Marvel for $0.25. I found the first Century for $0.25. This shop did not know what they had. As me and my boy are patient guys. Yes, we're from New York, and we happen to have patience somehow. And so we were just in these boxes, and I'll tell you this, which is really funny. As soon as they pulled out the first Blue Marvel and the first Century, I said, "Yo, look what I found." My boy looks at me and says, "I'll pay you $10 right now." I hadn't even paid for it yet. I'll give you $10 each for them. I'm like, "Fuck you, bro. You think I'm stupid?" What is wrong with people? So, listen, don't ignore garage sales. Don't ignore Craigslist, there's comic book sales. Like, dude, in Craigslist comic book sales, guess what I found for $1 each? Not once, but twice. And each time, the first Harley and the first Deadpool for $1 a pop, and in near mint condition. I would say if you were grading it would get to at least a 9.7.
Yeah, no. I love hunting for comics. I love going through
I love it.
people's stuff. I love Facebook Marketplace is an amazing place to shop. When people have collections,
Could you imagine, Andrew? One day I went with wifey to meet one of her cousins for the first time, and he was living with a roommate that wasn't some shady business, but he happened to have statues and comics. Like, are you into this? He goes, no. Sometimes this is how people pay me. I did not ask any more questions, but I did see a comic book box. I said, you mind if I look through this? I'll tell you right now, I bought the first appearance of Gambit and Harley for $10. And I just pulled them out. So, I'll give you $10 for these. He goes, are they worth anything? I said, I'm telling you, I'm giving you $10 for them. All right, just take them.
Jesus Christ.
I'm grimy, man. When it comes to business, shit. Like I told somebody in the International Comic Crusaders Podcast when I was a kid, I used to sell comic books, Andrew and Lucas, right? To kids that would go to religious instruction on a Wednesday, meaning that they leave early. These idiots would leave the comic books in their desk. So, I'm from New York, I'm grimy, I'm Brooklyn. Come on, bro. I go into the desk, take the comic books back, wait a week, and resell it to them. I probably resold the comics to them 4 times before I finally kept it.
Jeez.
That's so bad. That's so bad.
Hey.
Like gangster.
Hey.
I do not do those things anymore, folks.
So to talk about my class. So what it looks like right now is that it's $5 a month. It's on OnlyFans. $5 a month.
It's a bargain, Andrew.
And so right now there's 6 modules. My goal is to add another 10 by December. I want the core curriculum to be done by January, and then once that's done, we're going to start diving into artist stuff and doing a lot of artist bios.
Go
ahead. What's that?
Sorry, what's the platform, Andrew, that you're using to teach folks?
You said
Right now,
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. I just figured out.
He says that stuff butt naked, yo. So what you need to know about comic?
Yeah, you can see my 6-pack abs right now. No, it's one of the things is that I didn't want to do it on Patreon because I don't like the reward aspect. It's $5. It's unlimited. You get 30 free days to try it, which is crazy. So if you want to try it for 30 days, and then it's $5, but I will be, once that core curriculum is done, I will be raising it up. And I am right now, the only reason why it's $5 is because I'm building it out, and I figured that I'm not the type of guy that I want to create long-term value, because at some point I'm going to be building a second class and possibly a third class for more advanced that deals with how to go into things more in depth and go at harder. And obviously I'm planning, once this core class is done, this isn't stopping. This is going to be updated twice a month or 3 times a month.
I have a recommendation for you, my brother.
And so that's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
And I'm raising the price once that January hits, $10-15 a month, and that's where it's going. And the only reason why it's $5 right now is because I just figured that until that core class is in there, that $5 is a steal. And then once that hits, but it's monthly, and then obviously it's cheaper if you buy it yearly. And then that's where I'm going with this. And a lot of stuff's coming, but I'm looking at $10-15 once January or February hits. And I think
Andrew, I recommend that you check out Podfest Summit. I think what you have here has a lot of value, and this is something that they could help you even present to an even bigger audience, because I do find that this has a lot of value. Because again, I used to find folks trying to sell me bullshit comic books on Craigslist. Oh, this is 20 years old, so it was $100. But it's a bullshit comic. Like, no, have you done your research? This is just because something's old doesn't necessarily mean it has value. Do you understand? It's a key. Is it in good shape? What's the story? Who is there a special cover? Who wrote the book?
My goal is education. I don't want to advise somebody what to do, because the saying is, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he eats for life.
Yep.
So education, and then Dave Ramsey said this, the person who has the most knowledge, and that's education, and the most patient wins. And by the way, when I say win, if you and me are having a negotiation over a comic, and I'm buying $1,000 comic, we go for an hour, and you're knowledgeable and I'm knowledgeable, we're going to reach a fair deal. And we're both going to be happy with the deal. or we're both going to be unhappy with the deal, which is the same as being happy.
Yes.
So it
That
doesn't
definitely
have,
sounds like a conversation with Lucas.
and so that doesn't when I say negotiation, I don't have to decimate my opponent and they have to lose and I have to win. You could have win-win situations. And so, but that's also something I'm going to be teaching in this class is how do you negotiate? How do you behave? What's CGC? Like, what's a sketch cover? How does that stuff work? Right. And so I'm building all this out.
Can you teach them how to? Can you teach them how to pack their books, please?
Let me ask you.
I'm working on that, and now it's a little bit harder to do.
I'm getting too many books with freaking and Walmart shopping bags.
Let me ask you though, Andrew. How do you feel CGC versus the PGX, which is the better platform? And when it comes to
PGX or CBS?
CBS. I'm sorry.
So and there's PGX as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a CGC guy, but I got my Saga because I made an error and I was young. I got my Saga signed by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples at New York Comic Con, but I didn't get it CGC because I was new to this entire thing. And I was into comic collecting, but I just wanted it signed, not personalized or anything. So I had to get it verified by CBCS. Came back completely verified, and it's all good. And so it's not. That's the one advantage of CBCS. So I'll talk about this a little bit. So there's two major grading companies. There's CGC, and you could get it, just submit a book to them, and it comes back a blue label, or you could have them see you sign it, sign the book with a celebrity or comic writer or artist or creator, and then it gets a yellow label, and obviously that signature is authenticated, and CGC does not authenticate signatures. CBCS does the exact same thing CGC does, but they also have a program that verifies signatures. It's very helpful if you messed up, or if there's a situation that didn't present itself. There's going to be a situation in my life that I'm targeting where I have that Obama cover and I had Mark Waid sign it. I have Stan Lee on it, and Obama's writing a book right now, and I'm pretty sure he's going to sign it at Barnes & Noble because he's that type of guy.
Nice.
And then and whether you like the president or not, it's still going to be a dope book. And Obama, from what I hear, is a very nice man, and it's probably one of those guys that's a Secret Service. Please think about it. I'm just joking. That's probably what he's going to do. I'm willing to put money on that because he's a funny guy, and I think he's going to be saying, no, this is fine. That's my experience with certain people when you bring them certain books. But CBCS in that circumstance is going to be handling that because they are the only ones who've ever done that, and there is a book that they've done with that before that has Obama's signature on that very book. It's one of the first books they ever did and graded. So I like CBCS sometimes. Also, okay. I have some CBCS books. I have an Alexa Bliss, a pair that I bought dirt cheap. I bought 2 Alexa Bliss books from my friendly neighborhood comic book for $120, graded by CBCS, yellow label, not red label, for $120. That's pretty much the cost of those books. Those books were $15 for the pair, and Alexa Bliss's autograph on those books pretty much brings it up to about $100. So I paid. And then the grading, it's less than what it would have cost me to do it myself.
Nice.
It's great. And I love Alexa Bliss. And I'm a wrestling fan. So it's cool, and I'm going to make good money on that because she's Sister Abigail.
Yeah, man. I know Ernie from Friendly Neighborhood Comics. So shout out to Friendlies too, man. They're basically like 4 blocks away from Rover Chicken.
So they both, in my opinion, have merit. And depending on what you want to do, and obviously, it's kind of like baseball cards. You have Beckett and you have PSA DNA.
Right.
PSA DNA is probably better, and that's sort of CGC. But some people can't get a CGC book, and they'll get a CBCS, and it might be $30 less.
Right.
But
So Beckett and CBCS, they have a partnership going on right now. But I'll jump in on this one, and I will say that when it comes to the grading system, and there are discrepancies from book to book and here, but CGCS and CBC are the same. There's no freaking difference. There are some grimy people that perpetrated a lie that CGC is better than CBCS, right?
I mean,
no
the
difference
major
in the grading.
difference, the major
There's no-
difference is that verification. That
I
is
mean,
the major
I'm
difference.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
inequality, right? Yeah, a 1.0
Yeah.
is a 1.0, a 9.8 is a 9.8. And if you have any doubt about what that is, there's a reference called the Overstreet Guide on
Oh,
grading books.
it's a nice big book.
Yeah, it's a big book. There's all types of references out there, and you can figure out that hey, this is how you grade a book, right? There's no difference. I mean, sometimes guys sometimes your book gets there, and the guy had a bad day, or he might have a good day, and then he decides to mark yourself harshly or whatever. That's what it is.
Also, my experience is that I've had books that I said, "Oh man, this looks like a 9.4," and it's come back as a 9.8. And sometimes I think CGC sort of bends a little bit if they know that money was put into the book and they're on the fence. I think sometimes so. Like I got an Elias Chazu sketch cover. I think the book was a 9.6. They graded it as a 9.8 because they realized how much money was put into the book.
You think that? Okay.
And so, and then I had another book that definitely looked like a 9.6, and it was signed by Dave Johnson and Tom King, and it was the Dave Johnson Batman 50 Catwoman dress.
Oh, nice.
Cats, and so I've had that in a 9.8. Dave Johnson's a nice guy. Tom King was nice about it, and I thought that was going to come back as a 9.6, and that came back as a 9.8. And so I do think sometimes, also I think if you're spending good money with them, they'll bend it, and they might put a little note. And also, if you're pleasant and you're nice to them, and I am always friendly to the people who are grading my books.
Of course.
for the reason, because if you're nice and then they look up, oh man, you've been grading with us for 4 years, 9.6, 9.8, we could lean a little bit over to a 9.8. And so I think that sometimes happens. And I can't prove it, but I definitely think that that's something out there. And I appreciate it. I'm a nice human being. And also, with that Elias Chazu's book, they were like, that's awesome. I said, hey, do you want to take a picture of it? I got no problem. You guys taking a picture of it? Like, yeah. And meanwhile, the people who were taking in my book were women looking at this sexy, beautiful book by Chazu's. Like, oh, shit. And, like, everybody in the table is looking at it. And then also, I just have relations with certain people, and they've sponsored a panel of mine. And so I know a lot of people. And that also helps.
So, in your class, do you also cover the topic of pressing, and how do you feel about that?
I am not an expert on that, and so I'm gonna probably cover it, but I'm gonna have to do research on that, and so I don't want to state anything. I've never had a book pressed.
Yeah, that's a 102 class. That's a 103 class. That's high level.
I will mention it, but I'm gonna do my homework on it before I ever do anything, and obviously I'm gonna do my research on it. So I don't feel comfortable stating one thing or the other. On
Lucas, are you familiar with pressing? What are your thoughts on that? Because I see a lot of people recently buying books, and what I see consistently, especially on Facebook, is cats say, "Yo, I just picked up this book. I'm about to head out to my shop and get it pressed." I'm like, wow. So you're kind of manipulating the condition of the book. Of the OG book. For me, it's manipulation. It's not OG. Well, so how do you feel about that?
So I understand your feelings, but there's two ways to think about it. So by pressing, which what we're talking about is there's those T-shirt presses, right? And what we do is we put that book under a T-shirt press, and it gets put under a little bit of heat, a little bit of freaking pressure. That means that all the wrinkles, all the spine ticks and everything kind of get pressed out as much as possible. So it could go from possibly a 9.2 to a 9.8, right? There's no way to make it an 8.0 into a 9.0 or anything. There's not, but you can make a 9.2 to a 9.6, and I've seen some 8.5s go into 9.6 or so. And that can be $100 to $200 to $1,000 difference.
Yeah,
so that's why. Right. So it's what it is, and it's a skill, right? It's a skill that you.
Is it a grimy skill though? That's what I kind of want to find out.
Right. Yeah. So I understand your question because right. So for instance, you were talking about Beckett earlier, Andrew. So a big thing that's happening right now that a lot of people are missing out on is those sports cards, right?
Gary
people,
B and David Patrick, I think Valium Entertainment are very big on those right now.
right. So right now, there's a big thing that's been happening with the cards, in which people, what you're supposed to look at when you're looking at the cards is making sure there's no wrinkles, making sure that the cards are even from picture to the side and everything. So the manipulation that's going on is that people are starting to shave off parts of the cards to make sure the whole thing is freaking even, right? Even after it's been graded, right? So you grade it, it's been graded, you get it back, then the guy's been shaving it off and then just resubmitting it in order to get, a 9.8.
Did you not tell the size difference though?
Well, there's a acceptable point of error when it comes to size difference, right?
Say word.
I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care about the size of it as long as the sides are kind of even and there's no nicks or ticks on the freaking card and everything.
So basically, as a manipulator, Roberto Clemente rookie card,
yeah,
take the
there's a guy that's about to go to jail for that in New York, actually.
No, hold on. Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this type of shaving, Andrew? Not shaving that beard of yours. Obviously, you have that COVID beard going. How do you been shaving?
I know baseball cards, and my dad is a big baseball collector. I actually got him a really cool baseball for Father's Day. I got him a New York City Field All-Star Jerry Seinfeld signed baseball.
Oh, say word.
That was signed by PSA DNA, and that's what I got him for Father's Day, I think a year and a half ago.
That's a cool gift.
He's a big Seinfeld fan, and it's on a New York City. Obviously.
He's the Mets man, yeah, bro. Yeah.
There's probably only like one or two of them in the world.
Nice.
And so that's something that I got him, and speaking to that, he has some baseball cards. He has a Derek Jeter rookie card that's worth some good money.
Yeah, my wife has his minor league card rookie.
It's kind of cool, but
yeah, not that cool. She was crushing on him back then. Like, what are you doing buying his rookie cards? You didn't even like baseball.
well, at least you're not the guy who was in the club with Derek Jeter, and Derek Jeter took his girlfriend, and the guy said, "Well, I can't even be mad about it." Like,
no. I'm being somebody's ass that day.
If the thing is that if I was in a club and Derek Jeter took my girlfriend, I have no choice but to be like, I got the best story ever. It's but I'm expecting
it may be
at
a
least,
crazy story, but no.
But
you ain't being me, DJ.
at least I'm expecting, and once he hears that story, for him to send me at least a Yankee game ticket. Like yeah.
That better be season tickets. Yeah, I gave you some good something. You know what I'm saying?
or at least like an autographed baseball. Like say, hey man, I'm really sorry, but that was 5 years ago. Here's a baseball. But anyhow, I digress. I don't know.
Here's a baseball. That's kind of fucked up.
I mean, the baseball will last longer than the relationship and be worth more. But hey, who am I kidding?
You know what, man? The investment, you might be onto something there. More things that you learn in the investment program. If she dumps, you get it signed.
So I don't know much about card shaving. My dad bought the card graded back like 20 years ago, and he has a bunch of them.
Oh, cool.
And so I don't know much about card shaving. It's not really my thing. I have flipped Magic the Gathering cards. I flipped Pokemon cards, and I made money on that stuff, and they look good. I don't know. The person who wanted it was thrilled. I was happy. And then I bought a J. Scott Campbell comic, and it was great. The Mary Jane wedding stuff signed by Campbell.
Oh, my God. I have a friend that does nothing but buy those covers, and then he's basically converting his whole floppy collection into omnibuses.
And so my entire thing was I love that cover. It was signed by Campbell. It's a beautiful cover. I like her ass. It's got the spider webs on it. That's my favorite part. That's also like a personal book because it was a nice gift to myself during a very difficult time.
How do you feel about the omnibus market, the omnibus collectability market? Do you think that's something huge? Because my friend is like swerving on this right now, and he's finding what he calls gems in the omnibus market. I'm kind of a little unfamiliar with it.
So it depends. So a company like Zenoscope does a lot of crowdfunding for putting together big volumes and omnibuses. They did one for Wonderland.
Yeah.
And so for them to redo that, they're going to have to kickstart it. I have one of them. It's a little beat up, but it was also signed by Joe Bruscia, one of the And so they did it on a virtual con. He was happy to sign. He picked to Wonderland. He didn't personalize it or anything, which is cool. And so I kind of like that stuff, and I think it's fun. And I just want to read Wonderland. I didn't get to read Wonderland from Zenescope ever. It was a little bit before I got into Zenescope, and it was around the time, but wasn't fully invested because that was like 2009, and I didn't come into comics really till I was reading Teen Titans and stuff like in 2008, 2009, but I really didn't come into Zenescope till maybe 2015. And so for me, it's just enjoyable to read it, and I love it, and I'm reading a lot of their stuff, and I find it fun, and I also review it and write stuff on their smaller trade paperbacks. So for me, that's what I like, but I think that book, if it was in better shape, I think somebody would pay what I paid for it. I think it would maintain its value, just because they have to kickstart those types of books. And so once they print certain ones, because the problem with them is that they're not a DC, and so they can't store it, and they're not in a B&N per se. And so that storage, once they print something, they kickstart it, and then they store it, and the storage fees and all that stuff is part of it and why they have to kickstart it. And that's something that's out there. And if they do a Van Helsing or a Robin Hood, Van Helsing's got 50 issues out in December. Would love 50 issues in an omnibus just because it's cheaper for me. And even just to get out of Zenescope, Ryan Brown and Charles Soule just funded Curse Words and did an omnibus of 32 issues in a hardcover on Kickstarter. And I think that book's going to maintain value. And even I have a book done by them that's the first Kickstarter, not the first Kickstarter, but the first book. It's a hardcover, and they were at a comic shop and they sketched in it. And my favorite story is that I said to Ryan Brown, who was sketching in all the books, the trade paperbacks, and even the hardcover for free. All you had to do was buy the book. You could have bought a $10 book and you would have sketched whatever you wanted. And all these people were asking for Batman, do Wolverine, do Iron Man. I'm like, do whatever the fuck you want to do, man. Like, and he just starts drawing this massive big thing. And Charles Soule's drawing a little stick figure on the other side. And like Charles Soule like, draw it all weird. It was a funny sight. It was a funny sight.
I can't imagine.
And so, but Ryan was like, yeah. And so that's my theory, is that, and I think that book will hold up well. I think I could sell that book for good money because it's got a cool sketch in it.
Excellent.
Omnibuses, I feel that it's tricky because it is more trade paperback, and trade paperbacks don't really handle value well versus a comic book.
Gotcha. Would you agree to that?
It's a long answer. I know it's a long answer.
No, would you agree to that, Lucas, about the omnibuses not holding as much value?
Exactly. He's absolutely right. They only really hold value or increase in value when you get it signed by the author or the artist. I'm seeing all types of secondary sales on those omnibuses, regardless of whether it is, especially by those Stan Lee's omnibuses, that are signed by Stan Lee. They're going for like $1,000, $7,000, $10,000 right now.
10, say word.
Right, yeah. So if you have an omnibus, that's great, but don't just hold on to it. Make an effort to get it signed or get some art drawn and everything, and then it'll definitely not only just hold value, it will increase in value. Otherwise, it's like, okay, there's probably going to be a bunch of copies out there and everything, but as long as it's got that personal thing tied to the writer or artist, you're good.
Also, the thing is that if you're just like me, I'm not looking to make money on my omnibus, Wonderland. I have hardcovers signed by Peter Tomasi, who did Blackest Night, and I have that one signed.
Love that.
He was just at a comic shop, and he put ring slinging in there, and I kind of wanted it personalized to me a little bit too. And I actually don't know if it's personalized. I think about it, but I'm not interested in selling that. I just wanted that, So when I get a book signed or a hardcover book signed or an omnibus signed, I'm not, as an investor, looking to sell it. It's for me. Graphic novels are for me. Comics are for me to sell because I still like reading these stories and I like to read a trade paperback. So that's the other thing when I talk about investing is that I love this shit. Like, I like to read Zenescope stuff. I like to read 5 issues though in an hour, and I don't want to wait 5 months for it. And that's the thing. That's why I'm thoroughly enjoying reading Wonderland, because I can sit down for 3 hours on my Saturday. This is great. This is great. This is great. Oh my God, I got 700 more pages to go. Thank you. Thank you for putting all this together, and it's signed is just a bonus to me. I didn't buy that book to get it signed in the virtual con. I bought that book because it was cheaper to buy that book than put it all together digitally or put it all together in single issues.
Exactly. And that goes back to why sometimes Marvel and DC are getting their butts handed to them, because some of those omnibuses, when they come out, they're about $40, whatever. But the single issues, they'll be like $3.99 each, right? So, and compare that to a manga, right, which will have 5 or 10 chapters, and then they'll be like $16.99 to $22. So that's
manga is that much? Shonen Jump's like $10 or $12. What manga are you reading?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at some of the previews. So,
what is that?
So what you need to do is, especially for your little class, make sure that these guys get a hold of this thing, right? Make sure, Andrew, if you sign up for his class, he will get you a free copy of the previews. Don't worry.
As soon as you tell me how to get myself a free copy of the previews, I'll be sure to pass on my class.
We will talk. We will talk right after this. And then, in the back of that, there's all this stuff when it comes to the comics that'll come out for 2 months from now. And then, in the back, man, they've got all the toys and all the manga stuff. And they're like $17.99, $22.99. But they've got a lot of chapters in them from 336 pages of stuff.
I mean, the most expensive manga I just bought was Berserk. And I bought the hardcover Dark Horse version of it, and it's beautiful. It's a hardcover book.
Yes.
It's 3 of them, and it's $50, and it's just a beautiful book. And the only reason why I bought it is I'm reading it, and it looks amazing on a shelf.
It does. My boy showed me on the bookshelf. He bought those, and he, this is my friend again that likes the omnibuses. He keeps buying everything hardcover. This is his shelf porn. This is probably what I'm gonna call his section. Hans is shelf porn. Shout out to Hans. Dude, he showed me that. That's the first thing I thought. Wow, those books look so dope on the shelf, bro.
That's the things that I bought.
They're gorgeous, dude.
I have 3 of the saga, so I'm a saga fan. I have it all in issues. I love reading saga in issues, but I also love the hardcovers. I love the hardcovers. Yes. They look beautiful, and you put them on a shelf. And obviously, this is not my best
shelf porn,
studio.
bro.
I'm in an apartment, but I'm moving at some point in the next 3 to 4 months. And when not sure if I'm renting or buying or where I'm going to be, just that's my personal life. But once I'm fully settled and I'm actually building out a studio, I'm going to be building out my shelf, and you're going to see a lot of cool books.
There we go, folks.
Moving
we're
around.
We're going to see Andrew's shelf porn like we're seeing Lucas's shelf porn.
You're going to see. You're going to see some cool stuff, and it's going to be built a certain way, and it's coming, but we're not at that stage just yet.
Okay. All right, man.
Excellent. So, I want I don't want to keep you too much longer. What I
got all night, so you're not keeping me at all. The only thing I got going on right now is I got 2 more sodas to drink, and I need more alcohol. So beyond that, that's the only thing that's holding me. And I'm
I think you need to do is do a drunken previews with Lucas. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do.
I'm free. Well, so all night.
Okay.
So if you want to hit me up in 30 minutes,
Excellent. Well, because we got to keep it short here for Comic Crusaders Podcast. Because unfortunately, I've been working for 12 hours, folks. Please, it's enough for me to be in front of a computer. I'm gonna have blue eyes because of the blue radiation coming into my eyes one day. I'm gonna be looking sexy, a dark Puerto Rican blue eyes. Wherepa. But no, man. So Andrew, I've been sharing your Facebook on the bottom, right, on your SoundCloud. And when it comes to the course, though, how can folks reach out to you to, begin to get enrolled?
Probably there's 2 ways. You could just go on OnlyFans, type in Comic Book Investing 101. It should pop up, from my understanding. Or secondly, what I'll put up right now, and I'll leave it up there, and I'll just pin it up to the top of my Facebook. I'll just pin up the free 30 days, and you can check it out. Obviously, I'm not going to charge you for your first 30 days. It's not reoccurring, so you have to automatically re-enroll. You get 30 days for free, and then beyond that, it's done, and that's why more classes are being added in, and that's why I've been given 30 days. I'll probably put up 20 spots. So first 20 people who want in, you can try it. If you like it and you want to stay in and you like where we're going with it, you can continue. Otherwise, it didn't cost you anything, and it's not going to reoccur because I hate those reoccurring things, and I'm not here to screw you. I'm not here to screw anybody. I would like to earn your business, and I'm a strong believer that if I earn your business, that you will continuously stay with me even when I mess up, because you will say, hey, this guy didn't fuck me over. And so I want you to try before you buy. That's my entire thing. So I'll probably put that up on my Facebook page. Obviously, it's going in and out. My Facebook page is Pop Anime Comics. A lot of fun stuff's going on there. Even if you're not interested in my class, you should check it out. I think I got like 58 or 57 interviews that I've done in the last 6 months.
I was checking that out. You have done hella interviews with people across all different types of fandoms, so shout out to that. Yo.
And then there's another 120 on my main podcast, and I'm backed up by 30. And then I sort of am in the middle of doing a very interesting cosplayer that we're setting up, and he does a Samurai Mario with his friend, and who does the Samurai Luigi, and so that's being set up. And then I have a very cool wrestler who's actually one of the original, and she is a transgender wrestler.
Oh, say word.
So this is very different, and I'm all over the place. And so it's not Nyla Rose, but there is a picture on my Facebook page of me and Nyla Rose at a house show. And she is not the monster she is on AW. She is a saint. She is a very nice person. She is super cool. And I'm just saying that. I'm not under contract to say that, even though she could hurt me in a lot of ways. And I really value my life. But
I'm pretty sure after that awesome endorsement, you're standing on her good side right now.
Hopefully. But again, you can just check out the Facebook. It's down below. It's Pop Anime Comics. Typically, anything with Pop Anime Comics is mine. PopAnimeComics.com is my website. I haven't written anything in a while, but a lot of cool articles. There's over 300 articles up there on a variety of topics. Obviously, Twitter is at Pop Anime Comics. The Facebook page is Pop Anime Comics. Interviews, I'm taking next week off, maybe doing one, but usually I do 2 to 3 interviews a week, if not 8. So you get anywhere from 3 to 8 interviews usually.
Like that, man. You're a busy man. But that's awesome, though.
And then Instagram is fun. Just Pop Anime Comics. So unless I owe you money. If I owe you money, I'm just going to quietly walk away as if I broke something in the store.
All right, man. So we'll make sure not to share your email here so that way we keep the bill collectors away. No worries. All right. But with that, check out my man here. I want to give you a big shout out, Angelo, for, teaching people to learn how to invest in comics. That's really cool. I think that it is a necessary skill as we float the market, especially for what Lucas is doing too, because through the Comic Crusaders shop, there's a lot of good stuff there. And if you know what you're buying, and you'll see the values that Lucas is in fact sharing with you as a collector. So you can learn this stuff with Andrew. Go to Lucas to buy this good stuff, and we go from there. This is Al Mega with my man Lucas and Andrew. Thank you again for your time today. This is another Comic Crusaders podcast. Again, I'm going to share all the other links you got for your website and everything, but make sure to follow Andrew. Make sure to check out ComicCrusaders.com, UndercoverCapes.com, and of course, one of these days, the AlMegaPodcast.com, which is in the works. All right. So with that, buenas noches, guys.